Hi everyone, welcome to this syllabus video where I'm going to give you a brief overview of the course and hopefully sort of set you up to watch the rest of the videos, which are going to go into more detail on some of the assessments and that sort of thing. All right, so let me share the screen with you. That's the Zoom. That won't be interesting to you. Ignore the warning at the top of the syllabus. That's going to change soon, right? And I did teach this course last semester, but I'll change this before you guys get in. So do check out the syllabus. Do that the first thing you do. Have a look at the syllabus, which will be updated. It's mostly updated now, but I'll do some little tweaks to it before you get in there. But just check it and make sure everything's the same and what you're expecting. All right. This course is about introducing you to the international relations subfield of political science. The way I think of international relations is as a body of literature, right? It's a group of writings by authors. Some of those authors are very famous and influential, others are less famous and less influential. The people we'll be looking at are mostly very influential, at least in our reader, which we'll talk about in a second. This body of writing, it begins in probably 1947, maybe a little bit before that with the H. Carr, but in the mid 20th century, right after the two world wars. And the American story of international relations says that the reason why we start to build up this knowledge about international relations between states. And it starts off, it's very conflictual, the relationships, right? Think about when we're writing it, it's at the end of the Second World War. So we've just had two world wars. So it starts off very much about conflict, about war, about how to win war, about how to avoid war, about how to have peace, about how to manage nuclear weapons, about strategy, right? And we're starting to build this up. Because we've just had the two wars, but the sort of the American story of international relations, and some people talk about international relations as an American discipline, right? Because it's about, when you're the most powerful country in the world, you're the one that needs to know how to manage relations between states and how to win wars and that sort of thing, fight wars, avoid wars, perhaps. So, American discipline, but the American story of its founding, and there's different. There's a British version as well, which maybe you would expect to hear from me, but no, is that, look, all the expertise about conflict was within the military. That's great. The military has been an important part of our society, but we don't want to be ruled by the military, right? We don't want to be overruled by the military. Is it Clemenceau, right? I'm taking this quote from that film, really funny film, great film, Dr. Strangelove. So I'm taking this quote from him, right, from Dr. Strangelove, but I think he says it, General Ripper, right, he says something like, didn't Clemenceau once say, war was too important to be left to the generals? And then he says, but now it might have been true when he said it, but now it's too important to be left to the politicians. And so that's what international relations tries to avoid, that idea that generals know better, the military knows better, and so you better just do what they say, right? If they say we need to go to war, they say we need to do an airstrike, if they say, we have to do it because they're the ones that know. So the idea of international relations is to have a group of civilians, a cadre of civilians who are trained in international relations. And early on, it was in conflict and in war, and it broadens as we go, and you'll see that in this course as we go through time. So that's what we want to look at, and that's what this course is designed to encourage you to, press you through a grade right into reading and becoming a little bit familiar with some of the foundational texts, some of the main sort of concepts, but to move outwards from there as well into actually doing your own research in that field, in the field of international relations. So that's the idea of it. You'll see the learning objectives there. You'll see as you go through the syllabus, we have this reader. This book is absolutely vital to the course. There's no way to do the course without it. If you don't have this course, this book, you will do badly in the course, pretty badly. All right. So get the book. It's right there. This is the correct book to get. Make sure it's the first edition. Don't get the second edition. And there we go. You'll be assessed by, you'll see the 65%. Most of it is a one big research project that we're going to do together, where we're going to engage with the international relations literature. You're going to engage with international relations literature and come up with an answer to one of these questions. One of these three questions. The questions are supposed to be broad. After having answered one of these questions satisfactorily, that was too many syllables. You will be, you will have the knowledge that I want you to have from this course. You'll have you will have read some international relations literature, and you will be able to say something about what international relations is, what it does, what it's about, right? And that's the idea of those questions. Watch my other video where I go into much more detail on what's required in this assignment. We'll also have quizzes. Those quizzes, 5%. There'll be a new quiz available every week. It'll cover the last 2 modules that we've done. Generally, I think the first one is just 1 module, but it's open book. It's just sort of a checkpoint, a chance for you to have a look. I point out some sort of major concepts in the quizzes, and you find the answers in the book, which is why the book's important. I mean, the quizzes are only worth 5%. Feel free to take all semester to do them, as long as they're in by the end of the semester, the last day of the session, the last day of classes. Check the ASU website, the calendar for that. As long as the quizzes are in by then, I'm happy. Don't worry about them. Again, 5%, and this is sort of a bare minimum. Do I know some facts about international relations? And if you've answered the questions correctly in the quizzes, then you do. Now, as we go here, these dates and times may change, right? So this is what you should look at after you've watched this video. Go and check the quiz for the dates and everything. These dates and days and times, they might change, but the idea of and the name of the perspective questions has changed. And I'll talk about that on the perspective questions video, the research questions video, because the name has changed. Clarification questions, we'll talk more about those. But these are good this is how we interact each week. You'll ask questions, I'll give video responses. You'll see at the bottom of the modules page, you'll see that there's already like a ton of responses from last semester where I taught this class in a similar way, but slightly different. And then there's also some videos from like a couple of times ago where I used to just lecture. So you'll see I've got lectures there where I'm introducing a lot of the readings that we'll do. Not all of them, but a lot of them. The course has changed a little bit. You'll see from last semester where I responded to student clarification questions. And that's going to be much more the format that we do this semester. But so if you want to look at those former videos, they might well be helpful to some degree, but they're not essential. But yeah, but we'll do these. This is how we'll communicate sort of about the content. You'll ask questions, I'll respond. and as I said, I'll talk about more about the details of that in another video. Final course grade, we're going to do A, B, C, D, E. It's going to be super quick, super easy. If you get 90, you get an A. If you get under 60, you fail the class and get an E. And then there's all the ones in between that are possible as well. I do rounding. I do mathematical rounding to, I suppose, 2 significant figures, right? Or to whole numbers, right? To no decimal places. So if you get, what is 89.5, that's an A. Right? If you get 89.4, it's a B. So that's what I do. Academic integrity, don't cheat. I do use Turnitin for all the papers. Make sure all the work's your own. Don't collaborate with anybody else on that big paper. That big paper, if you are caught cheating on that, that'll be a 0, and you'll definitely fail the course. There's no way back from that, right? Because it's worth 60% of your course. I remember I'll talk more about that later. Even though it says 65 there, I'll talk about the other 5% in the other video. I do catch people almost every semester cheating. It used to be every semester. I don't know if I've gotten worse at catching people, if people got better at cheating, or if people stopped cheating, I don't know. I suspect it's maybe not the last one, but I will. But I do regularly find people, and so if I do find you, I will give you a 0 for that assignment. If it is for the assignment that I suspect academic dishonesty on. Now, of course, there's an appeals process and all of those things, but generally speaking, the ones that I've experienced, it's very embarrassing when you catch somebody. It's embarrassing for me, but it's also embarrassing for them. And then you get the 0 as well. And that's what I say. The first time I'll give you a 0. If you do it more than once, which seems very unlikely in this course, but if you do it more than once, then I will give you a grade of XE, which is failure due to academic dishonesty, which goes in your transcript. So don't do it. I've seen that happen. I've seen it happen. It's embarrassing. It's sad. It's not worth it. There's no grade in any class that's worth that. I will. I'm quite a fair grader. I want you to do well. I do want you to do well, and I look for ways to give you the best grade that your work deserves. But don't mistake that for that this is an easy class. You've certainly got a lot of work to do. If there's any accommodations that you need, let me know. The DRC does send me emails, but it's very helpful to me if you let me know. There are no timed exams or anything in this class, but if there's any other sort of accommodations that you require, please do get in touch with me, and I will give you those accommodations that the DRC has agreed that will help you and that are necessary to you. Don't threaten anybody. These are things that I have to put in the syllabus. I haven't really experienced that before and don't want to. And it's probably, well, you could do it online, right? But maybe it's more pertinent in person. But certainly don't do that online either. Sexual discrimination. The university's policy is that I have to report anything I hear about that, and so that's on the syllabus just to make you aware of that. If you tell me anything, I will go by ASU policy because well, for philosophical reasons, right? I think ASU sets the policy, right? And I work for them, so I'll follow their policy. I also like to keep my job, which is probably part of it as well. Don't violate any copyrighted materials. Also, don't upload anything I suppose you don't have the copyright to. All right, here you'll see at the bottom of all the assignments there. I'm going to end this video there. That's just a brief overview. I've given you sort of an idea of the class, what the class is about. I've gone over what the assessments are. I've talked about a little bit about some of the policies, but it's not a substitute for reading the syllabus. Do read the syllabus and make sure that the dates, that you have the right dates and everything like that. And please do go on now to look at some of the other videos, all of the other videos, where I'll give you more detailed information about some of the assignments.